straight from Love Island, Petfringe organiser Mr. Pete Drummond.
Good evening and welcome. Fantastic, we're finally here. Comedian of the Year, the largest prize for stand-up in the UK. Bigger even than Edinburgh. Fantastic. Let me give you a little bit of history about how it started. It started with a very, very generous offer from somebody who said, why don't we do a stand-up comedy competition? We thought it through and they said, right, it's G for go, G for go. And the word went out. We had 850 comedians enter. But typical of comedy, only 670 in the allotted time. We then whittled them down online. And then we've been running heats around the country, as far north as Manchester, as far west as Taunton. We had a couple of heats in London. We had a heat in Petworth. And now we have a final in Petworth. Yeah. Right. So clearly this is the last event for Petfringe this year. It's been a great year. I think we've had some amazing talent. We've had some big audiences. We've had some deficient audiences. Thank you, England. So let's start with some thanks. Firstly, clearly, the anonymous donor who has put up the money for this sensational prize. It is. It's put staggering energy into Petfringe, and if we husband it carefully, it will build and build, and hopefully, my dream is that next year will be an air-conditioned Seaford. Our sponsors, Rathbones Investment Management, Shepherd Neame Brewery, again. So they sponsored us for the first year, and this is the fourth year they've sponsored us. We're immensely grateful. We've had some very generous patrons who have helped us along the way, because, you know, we live quite a hand-to-mouth existence. Everyone who has helped us, you know, all kinds of little things, all kinds of big things, but, you know, volunteers. We're all volunteers. Steve Masters. Steve and I were talking about 3 months ago, we couldn't believe, because we get on so well, that it was only in February last year that we met. But Steve is phenomenal for what he does for Petfringe. The stage, the lights, the sound, and you know, and we've had some music acts who are really demanding, and he's on edge, but he comes through, which is fantastic. Seaford College, they've lent us blacks, they've given us musicians, Sarah Reynolds commands the Petfringe chorus. Lucy Newman, over there, our videographer, and we have a whole series of edits of what's been going on at Petfringe, which will be on the website very shortly. But just coming back to tonight, there was one person who really helped. Because we knew a bit about comedy, but he has held our hands and guided us through, and he has been absolutely phenomenal. And he is also your MC for tonight. So please put your hands together for Andy Stedman.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for coming. Cheers. Clearly, he's just taken a few days off Love Island to be here, Pete. That's a fantastic shirt. How are you doing? Are you excited? Yeah. Excellent. So I'm just going to explain a bit what's going to happen tonight. There's 9 acts remaining from over 800 who entered. We're going to have 3 acts in the first section. Then we're going to have a break. This fella here, the king of Petworth, I think you said your name was. All he said to me was, "Oh, there are going to be breaks for beer, aren't there?" So yes, there are. So we're going to have 3 acts in the first bit, then a 15-minute break, then 3 more acts, then a break, then our final 3 acts. Each act is doing 10 minutes, and they'll be judged by a fine panel of judges there on various criteria. When I say fine, loosely kind of thing. On various criteria. Firstly, writing. Is it funny? Is it their own writing? Have they nicked it from, you know, Les Dennis 23 years ago? Hopefully not, because they wouldn't be here otherwise. Secondly, are they going to deliver it properly? You know, do they deliver? Are they messing up their line? A bit like I am, messing up their lines. Are they a good, strong persona on stage? Thirdly, your reaction. So this is very important. If you do like it, don't just sit there like you are. So, oh, that was good. I liked that joke. Actually, try and laugh a bit, yeah, because then they know it's good, and the judges know that you're still there. I like you already. What's your name? Rodders. Rodders. Can I call you Dave? Rodney, that's better, right. So, guys, you are very important in this process, okay? You are at least 25% of the marks, so your reaction, okay? You with me? Yeah. And then the final bit is where the judges give their own impression or how much they enjoyed each act. Now, all these acts are top pros. They come from all over the country to be here. Let's just give them a round of applause to start off with. That's enough. I haven't done anything yet. What are you doing? What are you doing? So this is what they, well, there is the top ever prize in UK comedy, as far as I know. It's £10,001. Now, we haven't announced this, actually, but we've actually just increased the prize money. I thought it was my duty to, like, chip in a little bit, so I've had another extra £1, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get too excited. It was from the donations bit downstairs. But all the comedians, I spoke to them, they are very excited. And they're not just excited about the cheque. They're actually excited because their career ambition isn't to win £10,001. It's actually to play in Petworth at the Leconfield Hall. So it is marvellous. So we're gonna meet some of you guys now. Just have a quick chat. So you've been to 3 heats now, isn't it, sir? And what's your name? Mr. Smith. That's not the name of a general. You're not, but you act like. What I was going to say, what would you do with £10,000? But it looks like it's just pocket money to you, sir, doesn't it? Really? You would what? Sorry? Yeah, okay. That's not. Is that an offer of doubling the prize money? Ladies and gentlemen, double the prize money from Mr. Smith. From me, we'll see you afterwards. So that's great. So down here, what's your name in the stripy top? And what would you spend the 10 grand on if you won? Any idea? Is that your mum? Is she a good mum? Do you prefer your mum or your dad? Which one, basically? What would you spend 10 grand on? A holiday. Where would you go? Love Island. We are missing Love Island. Some of you are obviously missing Songs of Praise as well tonight. But so you go on holiday, and what would you spend it on? University fees, probably, or something like that. Are you at uni now? Not at uni. It's just to still live at home. Anyone under 18 here, by the way? Give us a cheer. Oh, yeah. No, anyone actually under 18? There might be a few rude words. I've been warned. You know, are you okay with stuff like belly button? That's right. Anything worse than that? We're all good. That's great. So, right, give us a cheer if you've got kids. Right, just trying to find out a bit about the audience. I've got 2 kids, a 5-week-old. And an 18-month-old, so I'm particularly pleased to be here tonight. Is what I'm saying. I'm absolutely knackered, quite frankly. And my wife told me in a very cute way that I was going to be a dad for the first time and have a baby. She left a positive pregnancy test and a little note on my desk. And the note said, "Would you like to have a baby with me?" Which I thought was a bit late to ask. And then you don't know it doesn't really sink in, to be honest, until you go and have the first scan and you find out what your baby's going to look like. Preferably not your best mate. And then it sinks in a bit more when you go for the next scan and you find out if it's going to be a boy or a girl. And the sonographer said, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Stedman, congratulations. You're going to have a little boy. Look, there's his micro penis." My wife looked at me and said, "Yep, you're definitely the dad." So that's what I'm very pleased to be here. Give us a cheer if you were here last week. So a few of you. Now, 2 of the acts were actually here last week. So if they do any of the same jokes, right, you've got to pretend it's the first time you heard it, all right? You with me? Yeah. Excellent. Good. Well, I'm not going to babble on for too much longer. We've got a lot of acts here. So are we ready for our first act to get him on stage? Yeah. Please give him loads and loads of love. He's absolutely fantastic. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Luke Toulson.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. It's very, very kind. I'm Luke. I'm also like Andy. I'm a parent. The worst thing I find about being a parent, I don't know if you agree, is you know when you're at the school gates, the other parents, they always want to talk to you. And they've always got questions like, which one's yours? You know, I don't want to play this small talk game, right? So I'll just say something like, haven't decided yet. Why, which one have you got your eye on? Huh? End of conversation. If you haven't got kids, let me explain to you exactly what it's like to be a parent. I got asked to do stand-up on TV once, and it was a really big deal for me. I was really excited, so I wanted to tell my kids, and I told my daughter, and she said, and I quote, well, I've just been cast in The Sound of Music. What a bitch. Like, seriously, and I don't say that lightly. This was my moment, you know, and now we've got to talk about her shit life again. So she's not in the West End. This is a school production. Anyone who wants to be in it can be in it. That's not an achievement. As I explained to her. What do you mean? She's trying to compare two things that aren't comparable. The show I was in seen by over 1 million people. Her show, even if it sold out, which it didn't, right? And I know that because I was able to get a ticket half an hour after it started, right? Should have left earlier. And it was shit. That was the other thing. Of course it was shit. We're adults. We should be able to admit this. Of course, that's not a controversial thing to say. All school plays are shit. It would make a mockery of the acting profession if they were any good. Like, when have you ever heard someone say, have you seen Year 2's Waiting for Godot? Amazing. Of course it was shit. My daughter's school production of The Sound of Music was so bad, by the end I was rooting for the Nazis, you know? And I wouldn't mind if I could just watch my daughter do her bits. If I was given a time to turn up, I sit down and she's like, a female deer, and then I just fuck off home. Like, why do I have to watch everybody else's kids? They mean nothing to me. I'll stick around if one of them's gonna cry. Come on, Petworth. Nothing better than watching some kid have a meltdown. That's theatre. Probably shouldn't have been heckling, but you know, it's in my blood, I can't help it. I'm like, boo, this is shit. I shagged your mum. It was my daughter, you know. How to heckle your own kids with facts. I've got 2 kids, so whenever we drive anywhere, they both want to sit in the front, and they think whoever lets sit in the front is my favorite. But their parents want you know, you put your favorite in the back, don't you? Because it's safer. Yeah. Put the spare up the front. If I slam headfirst into a tree, I'm like, fucking hell, ah! Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Daddy's little princess is okay. My son hates it when I call him that. My he's got a very severe nut allergy, my son, and whenever I tell people this, they're like, oh my God, that must be terrible, but it's not, it's great. It's brilliant. If you can get yourself a kid with a nut allergy, I thoroughly recommend it. Because whenever you don't want to buy him something, you just say it's got nuts in. It's like, Daddy, I really want a PS4. I'm sorry, mate. Yeah, afraid they made those out of pistachios. That's what the P stands for, you know. I'll give you one more tip, then I'll move on. Don't let your kids see any of the Taken movies, okay? It gives them a massively unrealistic expectation of what a father's willing to do to get his rubbish kids back, right? I saw Taken 3 of my son, and in Taken 3, Liam Neeson is 62 years old, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but he spends the movie kicking the shit out of hundreds of Russians, right? I'm only 41. I couldn't kick the shit out of a Spaniard. A Spaniard. I'm in terrible shape. I'm so unfit. I've got a bad knee. I went for a run the other day for the first time in about a decade, and I managed 2 minutes. Couldn't run any further. I was thinking, this is not good enough, because I now know if my kids are ever in danger, 3 minutes away. Best case scenario, I get to watch it happen. You know, maybe shout some advice. Dad. You guys. Princess, get in the back. It's nice to be here in Petworth. I like the fella you got working on the door. 2 minutes past 7 as people are arriving. You're late. You're late. Love it. It's good. I think, like lots of people at the moment, I'm enjoying the World Cup. But I think it's amazing that people think that Russia can fix a U.S. election, but not the World Cup. Like, even though Russia lost yesterday, I fully expect to see them in the final. Yeah. Playing Panama, you know. Who do you think the refs are speaking to when they go to VAR, you know? It's Putin on the other end, isn't it? No penalty, yeah? Feel sorry for those Russian players, though, when they're stepping up to take the penalties. You could see it in their faces. That was the look of men who knew if they missed, they were never seeing their families again, you know? I mean, that's pressure, yeah? A lot of the comedians all talking about how this is the most pressure they've ever felt in their lives, this gig. This afternoon, my parents met my fiance's parents for the first time, you know? This gig isn't even the most pressure I felt today, you know? I'm not saying the prize wouldn't be life-changing. Don't take that. My fiance is French. You wouldn't know it. She's lovely. But it does mean I sort of have to be in favor of immigration, you know? Yeah, it just wouldn't work if I was like, baby, I love you. I just think you should fuck off back where you came from. I can't take her to the Eurostar, and she thinks it's like a surprise holiday. Ooh, where are we going? We. No. Hey, and I'm not saying we don't have problems. Like, take stand-up comedy. We get thousands of Romanians coming over here, going from club to club, offering to tell jokes quicker and cheaper. Like, it is a problem, but I think those of us who are in favor of immigration, I'm unapologetically in favor of immigration. Oh, by the way, my kids, they live with their mum and Tony, right? Sometimes people find it a bit weird, I've got a fiance, right? But I think those of us who are in favor of immigration, we need to tell the pro-immigration stories, right? And here's mine. I had a fertility test. We haven't got time to go into why, right? But I did. My kids, they're teenagers now. And we had, when you have a fertility test, from the male perspective, right, you get given the choice, right? You can either, now, Petworth, forgive the language, right? You can either jizz in a pot at the hospital, or you can jizz in a pot at home. Now, I chose to jizz in a pot at home because that's where I like to jizz into pots, right? You then have to transport this pot of jizz to the hospital, right? In my case, through the streets of London, right? And everybody knows. Like, you can see it in their eyes. Everybody knows you've got a pot of jizz in your inside pocket as you're squeezing on the... It's in my pocket. I'm not like, hey, pregnant. Or not. That's the point of the test, right? And you have an hour to get from wank to hospital. How is this not a game show? The Great British Wank-Off. Britain's Got Wankers. I'm a wanker, get me out of here. Strictly Come Wanking. We can work on the title. Anyway, when you get to the hospital, you hand your pot of jizz to a nurse, and this is the worst bit. You then have to watch as she weighs the pot of jizz. Yeah, to see if there's enough jizz in the pot for them to do their tests on the jizz. Right, fellas, it feels like it's gushing out. It barely covers the perimeter, right? The beaker's too big. Anyway, while this is happening, we're having a little chat, and I discovered that my nurse is from Poland. And I was just sat there and I was thinking, I wonder if that was her dream. Yeah? Growing up in Poland, you know, like, one day I go to UK, and I wages. She probably thought she was coming here for better wages, and they're like, no, I'm sorry, your job is just to wages. I can see how that's confusing. Now you say it. And I'd like to ask you, are those the jobs we want back? Yeah? Is that what Brexit was all about? British men going, I want to weigh some jizz. My father was a jizz weigher, as was his father before him. This old town was built on weighing jizz. Kids today do not know the value of a hard day's jizz weighing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. My name is Luke Tolson. Thanks very much.
Luke Tolson, ladies and gentlemen. Please keep that round of applause going for our next act. The marvellous Mr. Tom Glover.
Hello. Lovely to be here. This is great. My name's Tom. I'm from the West Country. I live in one of the many seaside towns you good people will only ever find yourselves in when you fail to get your first, second or third choice on a Sun £9.50 holiday. Give me a cheer if you've ever been on one of those. Wow, that is one more person than I was expecting, to be honest with you. Because this lady here said she spent 10 grand on a holiday and no one batted an eyelid. If anything, people in the room were judging her for it. Maybe a bit of winter sun, but not a main holiday. No, sorry, what's your name? Maddie? Maggie, sorry, Maggie. I'm not judging you, Maggie. I go on these holidays myself. It's the ladies in front of you that are judging you. They pulled their handbags under their chairs when you cheered it, Maggie. It's just a reflex, because they know that if you see a purse, you'll take it, Maggie. That's the kind of person you are. And if they confront you, you might stab them. That is just the trouble. The Sun £9.50 holiday, you've never been, but it does attract a certain kind of person. I hate to stereotype, but it is almost always tattooed, toothless skinheads. Sometimes with their husbands as well. Living in caravans with feral children. It's not nice. But that's what you get when you spend less on a holiday than you would on a KFC bargain bucket. Or what you guys would spend on your weekly avocado bill. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous, Petworth. That's where I live. It's a very small town, a bit like Petworth. I know you're a small town because you've got a bus stop outside. It's got one bus. You don't need a timetable. Is this the right bus? This is the bus. If you want to leave, it goes Wednesday, comes back Friday. Go for it. I live in a small town. It's one of those places where sort of everybody knows each other, which is great, isn't it? It has its ups and downsides. It's great for building a sense of community spirit. Not so good for online dating. I imagine that is too risky in Petworth, because there is nothing worse than finding out the lady you've been talking to online for 2 weeks is actually your auntie. That's just one thing worse than that, finding out it's your auntie after you've sent her a dick pic. No, that is awkward. It is awkward, Petworth. We almost cancelled the date. That's how bad that got. We didn't. We've been together 3 months now, and Auntie Maggie's in tonight, and it's a real treat for you to have us here. I was like, I'm going to need you. None of these people would have been on a £9.50 holiday. The other downside of living in a small town is sometimes when I gig locally, I will know people in the audience. And I did a gig recently, my nan and granddad came to watch. Now, I love my nan and granddad, but they shouldn't be coming to watch me do comedy. They're cool grandparents. They're in their 70s. They have all the modern technology. Like for my nan's birthday, we got her a Fitbit. Yeah? His name's Raoul. He's wonderful. He's a part of the family. We call him Grandad now, in fact. He's wonderful. For Christmas, we got her an iPad. 75 years old, got herself her first iPad. It was amazing. In hindsight, we'd have kept the money, drawn an apple on a chopping board. She'd have been none the wiser. There's a few faces of recognition in the audience, because what she has got there is a £200 lap tray. It's no good to anyone. But she has got an email address now. Once a week, I go around to help Nan with her emails. It's a little bonding experience for us. She tells me what to write. I type it in a box and send it off. She gives me the money for the postage. She's not to know. I mean, some of you, by the looks of your faces, don't know why that's funny. For the young people in the room, if your grandparents are in and they didn't laugh, take this as a tip. Get the inheritance early. That's all I'm saying. But Nan and Grandad came to watch me at a gig, led to my worst ever heckle of all time. I feel bulletproof up here tonight, because I turned up at a gig, Grandad was wearing his party shirt. He stood out in the room, everyone was looking at him, I had to address it from the stage. I said, Grandad, what is the story behind this shirt? He said, this shirt, Tom, is 47 years old. It was made in 1971. It was older than anyone else in the room. Not this room. But it's nice for the whole town to turn out. But on this night, it was old. I said, Grandad, that's incredible. I wasn't even born in 1971. What was going down in 1971? At which point a man at the back stood up and shouted, "You're Nan." It's a brutal heckle, Petworth. It is. People laugh about a minute straight, then they all turn to look at me expectantly. I'm a comedian. I'm meant to have a comeback. I had nothing. Luckily, Nan, she saw the fear in my eyes. She looked at me. She gave me a nod. Then she turned to the guy at the back of the room, and she said, "Oi! Not when he was wearing that shirt, I wasn't." Turner gave me a double thumbs up as if it was now all okay, and it wasn't, right? Because I was the first act on that night, and one by one comedians went on and grilled my grandparents about their sex life. Now, like most young people, I'd like to think that my grandparents stopped having sex a long time before I was born. It turns out that is not the case. There is never a good time to find out that your grandparents own fluffy handcuffs. But in front of a paying audience has got to be one of the worst. Now, I've not got a problem if you have fluffy handcuffs. There's probably not a lot to do in Petworth. You've got one bus a week, but S&M is the kind of thing I feel that you introduce into your love life when you want to add an element of danger into the bedroom. Now, my granddad has had a triple heart bypass. He's been handcuffed to a bed by a woman who I have seen take more than 10 minutes to open a lid on a jar of pickled onions. Quite frankly, how much more danger do they really need? And it's not just my grandparents. I see the young people in there laughing, but it's not just mine. Apparently, the over 65s are now having more sex than the under 25s. Give me a cheer if you're over 65 and still having sex. You're liars. But it's a small room and it's very well lit, okay? The reason this is, though, is because the under 25s, they're part of the Netflix and chill generation. If they want to have sex with a partner, they invite them around their house for Netflix and chill. They watch something on Netflix, and if they're lucky, they have sex afterwards. The trouble is, there are too many good programs on Netflix. Before you know it, you're 5 episodes deep into a box set, and you're too tired to be deep into anything else. The over 65s, though, you don't bother with Netflix, you don't worry about Amazon Prime, you don't even care about catch-up TV. You grew up watching TV when it went out live, yeah? You got 2 or 3 programs you watch a week, the rest of the evenings are your own. You're not the Netflix and chill generation, you're the Bake Off and Bang generation. You know who you are, strictly and shagging, Mr. Smith. I know what you're up to. It's slightly off-putting that you've all got matching fans. It's like doing a gig in North Korea, but I like it. I feel out of my depth in this town, to be honest. It's the only council car park I've ever been to that has a helipad. That's a joke, Mr. Smith. Don't get excited. It's like the petition has paid off. It hasn't. I'm just jealous of the over 65s because I've got young kids. My eldest daughter's 3 now, which is amazing because my previous Tamagotchi record was only 2 weeks. Every day is a bonus. But when you have kids, your love life can suffer a little bit. I was speaking to a friend of mine about this. He said, well, have you tried dressing up in the bedroom? I said, yes, of course we have. He said, what as, like sexy nurse, French maid? I said, no. But in the winter, she comes to bed dressed as somebody who should exceeded their baggage allowance on a Ryanair flight. Because you're fine in the summer, ladies, but as soon as the temperature drops just a couple of degrees, you are wearing all of your clothes to bed, aren't you? The whole suitcase is going on. It seems to be a male-female divide. Men don't seem to do this. I think it's some kind of macho thing. We'd rather die of pneumonia than put on a vest in the bedroom. We would. Our temperature control is very different. If we're cold, we stand under the covers. If we're hot, we stick a leg out. That is our temperature control right there, isn't it? Some of you have been doing it all week. I mean, it's got particularly hot. If it gets really hot tonight, you'll turn the pillow over to the cold side, but that's as far as you'll go. My partner wears so many clothes to bed, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night having a panic attack. I've fallen asleep in the middle of a jumble sale. She could leave me in the middle of the night, wouldn't even have to pack a bag. That's how much she's got on. And that's why we don't have sex, really. It's because essentially she's turned herself into a human version of Pass the Parcel. By which I mean I have to take off lots of layers to get to the prize. You with me? Not that I put some music on, invite all my friends round. Although I sense some of you would be up for it. And that's great. That's almost my time. It's good to be here. I've had a lot of terrible jobs before I did comedy. My last ever job, I used to be a postman. And my worst heckle actually wasn't at a comedy gig. It was on my post round. I'll tell you about it now, right? I was just out on delivery one day, minding my own business. And this young lad starts walking towards me with his mum. And as he gets closer, this little boy, he points at me. And he goes, Mummy, what's that man doing? His mum said, he's a postman. He's doing people's letters. That's his job. And the little boy said, why? And his mum said, because that's what happens when you don't try very hard at school. It's cruel, isn't it? It's cruel. I mean, to be fair to her, she's right, but it is cruel. I wanted to argue back. I want to say, hang on a minute, there's 3 of us here. Only one of us doesn't know what a postman is. I mean, maybe he's not going to be the high flyer she thinks he's going to be. But I didn't say anything. I was taken aback. I just walked on, and she just gave me a smug look, walks into her house across the street, and I thought she'd won. But luckily for me, a couple of weeks later, that little boy's birthday. That's right, Petworth, 40 quid up and an action man. Some of you applauding, some of you judging, but remember, 40 quid, not a lot to the people of Petworth, but to me and Maggie, that's 4 holidays with change. Guys, you've been wonderful. I've been Tom Glover. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
Tom Glover. Fantastic, well done, mate. Good stuff. You enjoying it so far? Good. We got one more act, then we've got a break, all right, sir? You all right there? So, this guy all the way from London, please welcome Mr. Alistair Williams.
Thank you. Hi. I'd like to thank my mum and dad before we get started. They were very supportive when I left school. When I told them I want to be a comedian, they actually paid for me to do a joke course. If you guys want to do the same one, it was called History at University of Bristol. My mum doesn't think that joke's very funny at all. She was like, Alistair, can you stop using your history degree in jokes? I'm like, to be fair, mum, where else am I going to use that? Right, like job interviews, don't be ridiculous. I'm like, I know who started the French Revolution. They're like, great, we sell computers, get out. Do you know what I mean? Right, I had a part-time job interview 6 months ago, okay, part-time. My mum was like, Alistair, make sure you tell them about your history degree. I'm like, Mum, I don't think the guy at Subway is going to be interested. That is a tough job interview, the part-time job interview at Subway. Right, first question the guy asked me, he goes, oh, Mr. Williams, it says here you're a comedian. He goes, how's that going? I'm thinking, yeah, you know how it's going, Jeffrey, right? It's not going very well, but I didn't want to say that, so I'm like, oh, it's going pretty good. He goes, oh, okay, Mr. Williams, tell me why you really want to work at Subway. I'm thinking he's doing this on purpose, right? So I'm like, well, Jeffrey, I've always dreamed of working with cheese. You know, from an early age, I would look at lettuce and just think, how can I get involved? And as I walked past this branch of Subway, I realised there's something in my life that needs addressing. This is why I didn't get the job, isn't it? This is why. Right, let me tell you something, man. There's times in life when we're all the same, and one of them is the job interview. Nobody tells the truth in job interviews. Nobody does. You know what my favourite bit is? You know the bit at the end of the job interview where they're like, okay, do you have any questions for us? Oh, yes. I like to work incredibly hard. Is that going to be a problem? It says here, annual leave 25 days. Do we have to take those? Can we come in at weekends? I've got so many questions for you here, Peter. I'll tell you when a history degree does come in handy, right? It's not job interviews, but Americans will try and catch you out with this one. They'll be like, did you know if it wasn't for us, you'd all be speaking German right now? It's like, actually, if you knew anything about the English, you would know that we would never learn a second language. Okay? We've lost several wars throughout history. We didn't learn anything, okay? The Romans came over here, thrashed everyone. How many of you people speak Latin? None. You see what I'm saying? Right? Why do you think nobody likes us? Right? British people, who are our friends? Who are our remaining friends in the world? Australians and Americans. Right? Why do you think that is? They can't be bothered to learn a second language either. That's the only reason. Right? And we're not even very nice to our friends, like Australians. We get mad when they beat us at cricket. Okay? Whose fault is that? They used to live here. And then we picked them up, right, and left them on an island surrounded by the world's most venomous snakes and spiders. And now we're like, it looks like their reaction times have improved. No shit. They've got snakes and sharks and poisonous bears. We're like, here comes a cricket ball that spins. They're like, are you joking, man? Right? And then British people go over there and they go, oh, these people have got no culture. It's like you left them on Jurassic Park. How many opera houses was you expecting them to build? Have you ever met an Australian that likes opera? I'm very suspicious of this opera house. Yeah, they're always showing you the outside, aren't they? Right, anyone been in there? I reckon it's a fucking bowling alley. That's what I'm saying. Right, I used to live with Australian people. Opera never came out, right? I used to live with 3 other Australian people, right? The first time they took me out driving, right, we get pulled over by the police. Right? There's 2 Australians sitting in the front. I'm sitting in the back. Right, and the policeman go, right, I have stopped you free because we're out tonight in this area and we are looking for 3 drug dealers. The Australians go, all right, mate, we'll do it. Oh, there you are. I don't want to put you off Australia, right? You must go to Australia, right? But who's scared of sharks? Who's scared of sharks? Okay, yeah. Everyone with their hand down, bullshit, right? If we're in a swimming pool and I released a great white shark, everyone with their hand down would be like, guys, where are you going? Why are you getting out? Right, I'm so scared of sharks, I don't go in the ocean. And I mean this globally. Like, I don't go in the ocean here in case the shark has got lost. Right, when I was a kid, we went on holiday to Florida. I wouldn't get in the swimming pool in case somebody who worked for SeaWorld fucked up a delivery, right? Right, so I'm travelling around Australia. This is the shark attack capital of the universe. And the girl I'm travelling with was like, oh, Alistair, we must go snorkeling. I'm like, Jennifer, you must be joking. No. She's She's like, Alistair, did you know that statistically you've got the same chance of winning the lottery as being attacked by a shark? I'm like, right. So what you're saying is it happens to one person every week. There's no way, I'm not going, no. She's like, Alistair, it's not going to happen to you. I'm like, that is not the strap line to the National Lottery. Right, and you fucking know it. She's like, Alistair, there's never been an attack on this part of the beach. I'm like, you know what that means? It's rollover week. There's probably 704. Do you know what she tried on one place? They're always trying to get you on the ocean. We went to one place and she was like, Alistair, you'll be fine here. Look, they've got shark towers on the beach. I'm like, right. Why do you think that is? It's because they've got sharks in the water, right? Like, why do you think they don't have shark towers in KFC? Because there's no sharks in KFC, right? I mean, what sort of person feels safe swimming near a shark tower? Right, imagine if you got lost tonight and you were sort of walking home and you were like, oh, I don't recognise this area. Is it safe to be walking here late at night? Oh, thank God, there's a rapist watchtower. What else is going on? I'm trying to understand the way women think more. It's going pretty well, except for this one. You have to help me out with this one, right? The girl who works opposite me at work, right? She splits up with her boyfriend. I'm like, why did you split up with him? I was like, he was really nice. She was like, yeah, he was too nice. She's like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I've literally no idea. Right, I'm a man. None of my friends have ever called me up and been like, mate, I've got to get rid of the missus. She has gone lovely. Right, but the world's changing, man, and I think it's good. Like, my ex-girlfriend, she did MMA for a living. Does anyone know what that means? Right, mixed martial arts, right? She was a professional cage fighter, this lady, right? Which my friends thought was hilarious. They were like, Alistair, you know your girlfriend can beat you up. I'm like, yeah, she's a professional cage fighter. Right, my last girlfriend could beat me up, and she worked in the fucking Disney store. But men are all the same. They're like, well, you know, I couldn't go out with a girl that could beat me up. I'm like, okay, good luck putting that on an online dating profile. Yeah, I'm looking for a girl that's clever and funny with very poor self-defense skills. Right, so anyway, right, in this relationship, physically, she was the alpha and I was like the feta or something down there. Right, she could have easily beaten me up. This is all fine. And then we're in bed late at night. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. There's this noise downstairs. Right, it sounds like someone's broken in. So we both sort of wake up. She looks over. She goes, babe, do you want me to go? Right, and I'm just sitting there like, I got mad at her. I was like, go. Why are you waiting for me? Go. She was like, well, you are the man. I'm like, well, you are undefeated. Does anyone else feel like the standard of zookeeping in this country, it's gone downhill so quickly? You know what I'm saying? Right, last year a gorilla escaped from London Zoo and drank 3 litres of undiluted squash. This is a real news story. Do you guys see this news story? Right, and every news story was saying it was like the squash was undiluted. The squash was undiluted. I'm like, it's an escaped gorilla. Of course he didn't walk over to the taps. Don't blame him. Right, 5 animals escaped from London Zoo last year. Do you know what bothers me? You walk into the zoo and some bloke who works for the zoo will come over and be like, excuse me, sir, did you know that thanks to the online team present now at London Zoo, we have saved the habitat of over 500 pink flamingos? It's like, oh, cool story. Did you know there's a lion in the fucking car park? It's not Pokemon, man. It's the zoo. You got to catch them all. You got to get every single one in here. Now, let's finish this on a positive note. I'll tell you what I do like about this country, ladies and gentlemen. We're still a nation of problem solvers. Do you know this? Right? Did you know this lady from the NHS was on TV? Apparently, according to her, the UK used to be the most overweight country in Europe. Right? And then we fixed that problem by leaving Europe. Get as fat as we like now. Fuck you, Switzerland. Thank you. My name's Alistair Williams. Thank you.
Alistair Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Well done, mate. Fantastic. 3 brilliant acts. We agree? Okay, it's time for a break. Go and grab yourself a drink. Back in 15 minutes, about 5 past. See you then. Cheers. he comes up with ridiculously sort of awkward questions. And on the way out afterwards, he looked at me and said, "Oh, Uncle Andy, when someone dies, what happens to their iPad?" I was like, "Yeah, that's my nephew." I thought, "Hold on a minute. Your granddad is my dad. I'm next in line for that." Back off. Back off. So, mother and daughter, you all right? You having a good time? Nothing too rude? She actually had to nudge. You're not listening, are you? Is she this naughty all the time? Is she well behaved? She's what, sorry? She's dreadful. Is she quite bossy? Does she like get involved a lot? Or is she like, I can't be bothered now? She's great. You have to, because pocket money and all that kind of stuff. Does she give you lots of advice? Advice? Did she give you advice? None at all. None at all. I think probably loads of the comedians receive advice about how to do things tonight. But my dad in my life has only given me one bit of advice ever. It was the day I started my first ever job. He said 2 things, son. 1, work hard, and 2, don't sleep with your boss or your colleagues. In other words, never shit on your own doorstep. Which is good advice unless you've accidentally swallowed your front door key. It's true. There's always something that isn't quite right. I'm not going to blab on too much because it is really hot. Should we welcome our first act back in the next section? Excellent. Please give him lots of love. Please welcome to the stage Simon Lomas.
Thanks. My friends at school thought I was strange because I'd always sit in class sniffing marker pens. After a while, one of them showed me how much better it is if you take the lid off. I had braces on my teeth, which got me a lot of abuse. Train tracks. That's what they tied me to. I didn't do very well at college, but I managed to get into my favourite university with 2 Ds. Dundee University. I didn't have a lot of money while I was there, and for the first couple of months, all I ate was cuppa soup, which I thought was disgusting. But eventually my student loan came through, and I bought a kettle. My nan always said that you should never go food shopping when you're really hungry. She starved to death. Someone told me that when taking ecstasy on a night out, you need to drink around a gallon of water, which makes me wonder just how big the tablets must be. I was quite mischievous at uni. I played a prank on one of my flatmates where I replaced his milk with PVA glue. He didn't fall for it though, because the bottle was a completely different shape. And said PVA glue on it. Fuck are you looking at? That was a new bit. I was looking after my granddad one day when he was suddenly unable to breathe. He needed an emergency tracheotomy or he was going to die. I knew what I had to do, so I grabbed a plastic biro from the desk and got him to sign a blank check. I've got a friend who lives in London. She said that because pickpocketing is very common down there, she always keeps a set mouse trap in her handbag. I said, "Are you sure it's definitely mice that are doing it?" Because it could be pigeons. I had my first archery lesson today. All my arrows had suckers on the end of them. I call them suckers for not getting out the way in time. Going on holiday as children, if we annoyed Dad, he'd threaten to turn the car around. One year, he actually did it, and we had to reverse all the way to Cornwall. I'll tell you about my dream job. I'd love to be the person working for Channel 4 who travels around the world searching for things that look like a giant 4 from a certain angle. I think I'd be brilliant at that. What's your name? Tony. Sorry? Johnny. Name any landmark in the world, and I'll tell you whether it looks like a 4. No. You're a fucking idiot, Johnny. I went on this I went on this lad's holiday to Magaluf. He wasn't happy when he found out. I'm quite a party animal. I was in a club last night reading a novel. And my friend Chris came up to me. He said, "Mate, this is a club, not a library." I said, "Yeah, I know it's not a library. That's why I've brought a book from home." Chris isn't very smart. I once asked him, if you could have a superpower for one day, which would you choose? He said, probably a Saturday. He's useless. He is as useless as the condom in my wallet. Because I always go bareback.
Simon Lomas, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. Please keep it going and welcome to the stage, Charmian Hughes.
Hello, Petworth. I feel really pleased to be here actually because when I was a child, it was like my sister who got to go to the fancy stage school, Le Conservatoire de Ballet de les Enfants de la Parents Optimistique. I'm now 62 and I've had no work done. Sir, just touch this hair. Go on, touch this. That's my real hair, no wig, no weave. Now have a go at this arse. That is my real bottom. No implants. Kim Kardashian, eat your heart out. And this is all muscles. Muscles in a white wine and mushroom jus. Now, age is not something that comes after a process of years. It's just like that. It's like 1 minute you're a lovely young lady there, sitting there in your flowery dress, and the next you're here. 1 minute, it's like you're skating on the ice ring of life like Britney Spears, and the next moment you're being stretched off like Britney Spears. And 1 minute you've got like an amazing hobby like, scuba diving or hang gliding. And then what's happened to my hobby? My hobby's now looking after my collection of carrier bags, which I use for swimming, but I don't have time for swimming because of my other hobby of transferring all my pasta, rice and grains from their original supermarket packaging into large glass storage jars that take up 8 more times than the original packaging. There's my display cabinet. Obviously, I can't eat any of it because I've been messing with the levels. 1 minute you're at some showbiz party, maybe after the Petfringe, you're surrounded by your showbiz friends, chopping up your lines of cocaine. And then you look up, they're not your friends, they're your cats. You don't actually even have any cats. They're pictures of cats you've cut out and stuck all over your lonely bedsit walls. That's not cocaine. You're on the brown now. Cocoa. Just transferred it from its original super value Sainsbury's packet into a lovely vintage tin you bought for 20 quid from the antique shop. Always a bit rusty, you cut your finger, you get tetanus and you die. So, now, because I'm actually 62, my mum, she had me quite late in life, so you're looking at something historical. My mother was actually born in 1918. She was born at the end of the First World War, and that's the only reason we know that she didn't start that one. She spent her 20s going through the Second World War. Now, it really affected they're thinking, and I know it's not a PC thing to say, but it's true, and I'll say it. My mum, throughout her life, she never bought a Japanese product. Never bought a Japanese product. Because she was that generation. She could not forget or forgive Yoko Ono for splitting up the Beatles. And my dad fought in the war. I mean, they didn't have counselling. They didn't. My mum, she used to say to me, there are things you must never show a boyfriend till your wedding night. And I'd say, you know, what things? And she said, things like your true personality. I was brought up in a village just 25 miles north of London. In London, they had the swinging 60s, the groovy 70s. We weren't like that in my village. We didn't throw our virginity away willy-nilly like you lot, you did slags. We hung on to it until we really wanted the money. But, you know, my mum, she didn't even know the facts of life till the day before she got married. Her chief bridesmaid told her. My mum didn't believe it. She said, that's ridiculous. That's disgusting. The stork does what? With his huge knob. I got most of the facts of life from my convent boarding school. When I was 12, there was a book going around school. It was called One Love Is Enough. It was well-thumbed, soft porn. It was set in medieval France. It was also a bit historical. And it was full of much, almost sex innuendos you can possibly imagine. In one scene, the hero and heroine, Catherine and Arnaud, they're having a big snog, and Catherine feels through 18 inches of elaborate medieval tapestry trousers an aroused masculinity. What does it mean? And then suddenly Arnaud, he shudders, he groans, and he is spent. What does it mean? I go to Susan Bartlett, who does A-level biology. I say, Susan Bartlett, what does it mean? It says, he shudders, he groans, he was spent. She says, it means he was having an orgasm. What's an orgasm? It's when a man has a period. What's a period? That's God's curse upon womankind for the sin of Eve in the Garden of Eden. Catholic school. Luckily now, of course, parents are straight with their kids, aren't they? They say when a mummy and a daddy love each other very much and the mummy wants the daddy to give her a new kitchen, she lets him fuck her. I'm actually married, everybody. I met my husband in an audience like this many years ago. He still can't get over the fact he's my husband. He still thinks he's a hostage tied up in my airing cupboard. I think it's great. Everyone can get married. Gay, straight people can get married. You're making a unique statement about your relationship. You're saying, I found this one person. I need look no further because I'm knackered. And there's a place in Dorset, a place called Abbotsbury, that sums up, I think, our instinct to pair off with another creature of our own species. Do you know Abbotsbury? Do you know what it's famous for? Swans. More swans in Abbotsbury than anywhere else in Europe, bred there since medieval times by the ancient monks. You go to Abbotsbury, you're wading through swans, thousands of swans. Each one has mated for life. Each one of those swans has a partner till the end of its days. And that's why swans are so aggressive. That's why they want to break a man's arm. That's why they want to drown a dog. How do we ever get through the pain of adolescence? I got off with somebody eventually when I was 17 at a party in Chorleywood, Tim Cobbles. We left the party, went over to the summer house, the stars were out, we had a big snog. Suddenly I felt through 18 inches of elaborate tapestry, 1970s flared trousers, and aroused masculinity. And Tim went, oh. I said, Tim, are you okay? He said, yeah, I've had an orgasm. I said, I'm really sorry, I've got a Tampax in my bag. Now, just my last bit I'm going to do. I don't know how you voted for Brexit. It's your business, but I did notice Petworth has got a street called Trump's Alley in it. But the year we joined Europe was the year that I went to Europe on my own without my parents. And in those days, if you were going on a school foreign exchange, you would prepare something for the parents of the country you were going to stay with in their culture as a kind of gift, as a present when you arrived. So, like if you're going to Austria, you'd sort of do a little Tyrolean mountain dance. If you're going to Germany, you'd invade Poland. But I was going to France, everybody, and I prepared just a tiny little song for my French host. You've got to imagine in those days, we teenagers, we weren't dressed kind of like glamorous like they are now. We were just like little children wearing the curtains. And you've got to imagine I've arrived at the parents, and I say to them, Bonjour, monsieur, madame, je m'appelle Charmian. And je have préparé pour vous une chanson française, culturelle, traditionnelle, ici, maintenant. And they said, oh, zut alors. They're French. They said, continuez. And I said, je will. Je t'aime. Mange mon chat. Entre-moi, s'il vous plaît, par la fenêtre derrière. Avec votre Eiffel Tower. Oh, je chaude. Je grogne, je viens. Oh, qu'est-ce que c'est? Voulez-vous donner-moi un Tampax? Oui. Merci, je t'aime. Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you.
Charmian Hughes. Does anyone speak French? Do they translate that for me? That sounded quite rude, but funny. Okay, we've got one more act in this. No one's noticed, sir. It's fine. You've done very well just sneaking in there. Were you in the SAS? No. We've got one more act in this section. Please welcome her to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Bailey.
Hello. How are we? We all right? Yeah, I'll give the apologies out of the way first of all. I'm from Birmingham. Thanks. Yeah, this is not an accent. No, it's a contraceptive. Oh, you're such a nice audience. Because we do travel all over the country doing this, right? And sometimes we don't get audiences as nice as you. I'm afraid to say, pissed women are the worst. Oh, she's in. She's come from Manchester. I was there last night, you bitch. Because I did this gig recently, this woman was really heckling, and eventually I lost. I said, all right, what do you do? She said, I work for Specsavers. Now, it's not the best put down. I said, well, if somebody chats you up, I'd book them an appointment. She wasn't happy, right? She came up, she was livid. She said, I hope you realise we do a lot for charity. I said, like what? She said, well, when people bring in their old glasses, we send them to Africa. I thought food and water was their primary concern. I mean, you can just see the advert now, can't you? Every day, Nikita walks 20 miles for water. But with Specsavers' help, she can admire the view. Then we send out our old mobile phones. Now the poor cows walk past the well because she's too busy bloody texting. What's she texting? Please send reading glasses. Oh, you're very nice. I was going to do a bit of audience participation with you, if that's all right, because I'm a bit saucy, but you're adults, you'll cope, right? If you like sex with the lights on, give me a cheer. Look at you. Yes, punching the air, madam. Well done. If you like sex with the lights off, give me a cheer. Oh, that's a pissed woman. Well done, guys. She's ripe. There's a lot of you not joining in. There's a lot of you going, no, we don't have sex. No matter what the lighting. When I ask that question, right, people who like sex with lights on are normally men and skinny women. Oh, yeah, she's off again. Yeah, I bet you're there going, lights, give me floodlights. The rest of us, we've got blackout curtains, pyjamas up to here. I've got a onesie with a flap. That's a bloody good idea, innit? I'm going on Dragon's Den with that. You can just see Deborah Meaden, can't you, getting the Velcro stuck. Brings a horny meaning to Dragon's Den. So we've got loads of lovely couples. Are you two a couple here? No, are you two? Oh, you're a couple because you're holding on. That's really sweet. Oh, are you a lights on couple or a lights off couple? Sorry? You're not telling? Oh, you dirty cat. Well, you know what that means. Yes. I won't embarrass you. I did a gig up north, and I know they're mean, right? I did this gig in Yorkshire, and I said to this bloke, I said, do you like the lights on or lights off? He went, depends on the fucking smart meter. Sorry, love, it's on a fiver. Bloody switch the lights off. My favourite answer, I asked a woman recently, I said, do you like the lights on or the lights off? She goes, I like the lights on. But we've got one of those energy balls by the time it's come on. Bloody finished. Sorry, lads, that was one of the girls. I'll share this with you because you're so lovely. I'm a lights off girl. Yeah, I'm not shy. I just don't want to see the fear in their eyes. and I'm conscious of my weight. Anybody else conscious of the weight? Oh, he says, not fair, is it, girls? This is when I realised I wanted to lose weight, right? This is a true story. A friend of mine, another comedian, said to me recently, you've actually got a nice face. No, it gets worse. He said, if you lose 2 stone, I'll shag you. I said, what about half a stone for a finger? I did actually lose 2 stone, though. Yeah, thank you. Not for him, he was an idiot. Anybody who's lost weight, you know this happens, don't you? People I can tell you've lost weight. You can see it in your face. I lost 2 stone. How big was my face? Why didn't anybody tell me? Here comes Moonface. Did loads of different diets. I did Weight Watchers, right? Weight Watchers is crap in it. I'm going to ask you, what's the first thing you do before you weigh in, anyone? Eat. I don't think you've got the right idea of Weight Watchers. Did somebody over there say shit? Thank you. Was it you? Oh, lovely, thanks. Oh, the answer I was looking for was take your shoes off, but thanks for trying. Rude. You take your shoes off, do you? So I joined this Weight Watchers, right? This woman said, you can't take your shoes off, health and hygiene. Health and hygiene. I thought, I'm not going back. Anyway, I did go back. I won Slimmer of the Week. Said, Karen, share with the group how you've lost weight. I said, I will, I've changed my shoes. It's middle of winter, I was wearing flip-flops. Next week, I went back in nipple tassels and a thong, bloody win it again. I did a vegetarian diet, and I went to this vegan restaurant, right? Forgot I'd got my leather handbag with me. I know, and this woman came up to me, you know the kind, tie-dye shirt, hairy lip, no tits. You notice vegans don't have tits. Or if they do, they wear them as the fleshy ends to a belt. She saw my leather handbag, she came up, she went, did a cow die for that? I said, no, but one's about to. So I've joined a gym. I go to the gym during the day. If you've ever been to a gym during the day, you'll notice it's full of really old people. Really old people. I went to aqua aerobics the other day. It's like a scene from Titanic. There were loads of old people just clinging onto anything that floated. At one point, a set of teeth and a tenor lady floated past. And the gym I go to, the women don't speak to the girls. The women at the gym don't speak. And then the other day, right, I apologise, this is horrible. The other day, we found a poo. Sorry, in the ladies' shower. Gross, I know, but you know what? It was instant bonding. Oh my God, that's disgusting, awful, dreadful. Let's go for coffee. Yes, let's go for coffee. Christ, things I do to make friends. Are we looking forward to the World Cup? I am beyond excited. I'm a massive football fan. I support a shit team. This is why I'm so excited. I'm a West Brom fan. Well, I know. I go to all the matches, right? This is how shit West Brom are, right? I go to all the matches. I go with my mate Adrian. We were playing Man City last year, right, in the Premiership. And he always goes in with a pie, right, beginning of the match. Halfway through the first half, he turns around to me and goes, bloody hell. We're 3-0 down. My pie's still hot. West Brom got voted the most unfashionable fans in the league. How shit is your team when they're looking at what the fans are wearing? Even the away fans were singing, you're going home in a nasty cardigan. But I'm optimistic. You've got to stay optimistic. I love optimistic people. I did a gig recently. Outside the gents' toilets was a condom machine. How optimistic is this? This bloke came along as piss as a fart. He spent half an hour trying to put a pound coin in this condom machine. I was like, sweetheart, give it up, you're missing that, and that's eye level. And talking about condoms, right, I live on a boat. I live on a boat in the middle of Birmingham. The weirdest things people say to me living on a boat, what's it like during the floods? It goes up. I get a slightly better view. Does get a bit crowded with all the animals. When I moved out of my old flat onto my boat, this is how sad my life is. I found some condoms that are out of date. That's sad, isn't it? I thought, I can't throw them away, so I did what I did with all my out-of-date stuff. Sent to local school for Harvest Festival. Have we got any teachers in? Oh, hello. Are you primary or secondary? Secondary. Have we got any primary school teachers in? No, they're too scared. What time do you finish work? 5:45. What time do the kids go? Really? Are they thick? 5:45. Fucking hell. I'm impressed, love. I was a private school. I used to be a teacher. I used to be a supply teacher in the city of Birmingham, right? I went into school one day. This 10-year-old child said, "You can't hit me, because if you do, you'll lose your effing job." I walked up a bit down and I whispered in his ear, "You might be the one." I lose my job over. Not a word all day, little shit. And I've always taught very inner city kids, and I was teaching this class once, we were talking about the Tudors and Henry VIII. This little kid wanted to know about Anne Boleyn. I went, "Miss, why was Anne Boleyn beheaded?" I said, "Well, she had a few too many boyfriends." She went, "Miss, was she a slag?" Yeah. This other little kid went, "Miss, does that mean my mum's going to get her head chopped off?" Yeah. I think that's why I've been single for so long. They say 80% of people meet people through work. I was a primary school teacher. Who the hell was I going to meet? Mind you, I did try speed dating. Yeah. Well, it was parents' evening. You've been absolutely lovely. I've been Karen Bailey. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Karen Bailey, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. Karen, another fantastic section. Right, we're going to go and have a break. Can we give it 10 minutes, yeah, if we can, and then get back to it's getting hot. So we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Cheers.
Sweet.
Please welcome back to the stage your host, Andy Stedman. Hello. It's getting exciting. I feel sorry. Do you feel sorry for the judges? It's going to be bloody. Are you having like little discussions amongst yourselves who's going to win? Little bit. I'm running a book out the back, by the way, if anyone's interested. Yeah. So this is the check, like I mentioned earlier. That someone's name is going to be on it. I mean, all these guys are absolutely bricking it back there, and they've all been brilliant, haven't they? Give them a round of applause so far. The important thing is, are we going to win the World Cup? Yes. Where did you watch it yesterday? You didn't watch it? Oh, weirdos! What's going on? Did you watch it with the lights on or the lights off? Did you watch it, sir? Do you just hate? Are you at a wedding? That's some. Oh, I'd have cancelled the wedding. Definitely. I watched it with all my antenatal class dads. And we got so drunk, at the end of it, we had a vote on who had the best-looking missus out of all of us. I know, it's terrible. And mine won. Which was kind of, like, I was proud, but also embarrassing, because I voted for Karen. Oh, fuck, she's watching this on the live stream. So this... I'm in trouble now. I forgot about that. I hope it's not loud enough or something. So this is the check. I've had this for about 8 weeks, quite frankly. And do you know how tempting that is? Very, very tempting. My missus says we need a new kitchen. She keeps saying on about it. But there's no way I would do that, right? Would anyone have cashed that check? You would have done. The thing is, though, you can't actually, because it's not actually a real check. As I found out when I went into NatWest and tried. I did try my best. Right, guys, it's very, very hot. We've got 3 more brilliant acts. Let's welcome the next one to the stage. Please welcome to the stage with a massive, rapturous round of applause, Mr. Nick Page.
That was probably too much reaction. I like to start the show with an uncomfortable silence and everybody staring at me like I walked out here with a cat and a nail gun. Perfect. Cat hater. Well done, sir. Tricky in this mixed crowd, I have also misjudged this microphone stand and water bottle combination. There we go. Here, see. No, if I press the button, the cable might fall out, and then it's fucked. A lot of comics like to start with a bit of chat and banter with the audience. I think we've got that out of the way admirably. Beyond that, I'm not going to ask anybody what their name is and where they're from and what they do for a living and why and what the best thing about it is and why, and if they're in a relationship, who they're in a relationship with and why and what the best thing about it is and how long they've managed to drag it out and how much longer they reckon they can drag it out until it inevitably falls apart, leaving them with a few happy memories but mostly regrets and recriminations and several bin bags of weird shit in the car. I'm currently married, actually. I've been married for 3 years. Well done. Well, before that, I was married for 3 previous times, which were less successful, and I might still be married in Venezuela. It's sort of a grey area. Plus, it turns out when we added them up, I've been engaged 7 times as well, which is it's because I'm a hopeless romantic, and it's absolutely not because I'm really, really bad at conflict resolution. My brother is a jeweler. It's not for that reason. Wasn't how I planned to start. Oh well. We'll muddle through. The reason I don't ask questions is because of respect. I respect the fact that you've come out to be entertained and shouldn't have to join in and do the work. And in return, I'd like you to respect the fact that I've got absolutely fuck all interest in any of your lives. Pretty much only do this to talk about myself. I would as happily talk to an empty room, but that is financially non-viable. So we have to share this. If I ask a question, it's a bit like if you have a job, you have to work for somebody, and if you work for somebody, then occasionally they will pretend that you are involved in the decision-making process, and they will have a meeting which they will call a review or an appraisal or let's just have a little chat about how things are going, and then they'll invite you to the meeting and you go to it even though you know that it's a waste of time. Because you know deep down that they have already made every decision about you and your job and your career and your future, and yet they say, come to the meeting, and you go to the meeting, and then they say, anyway, what do you think? And a little bit of you deep inside says, tell the truth, and the rest of you says, under no circumstances, tell the truth. Because no British person will ever tell the truth to their boss. Am I right? Yeah. When your boss says, what do you think? You don't say to them, do you know what, I hate you and I hate working here, and sometimes when the alarm goes off in the morning, I would almost rather self-harm than drag myself to this shit-pit gulag run by narcissistic clowns. You don't say that. You don't say to them, sometimes I wake up needing a poo, but I'm never going to have a poo in my own house on a work day. I don't care if it's fighting its way out, I will hang on to this fucker until I'm through those doors, because if I can't actually shit on your desk, I will always shit on your time. No, you don't tell them that. You tell them that you feel valued and yet challenged. And how you love being part of the team, only it's more than a team, better than a team. It's more like a family, only it's better than a real family, because there's no dodgy Uncle Terry and racist Nana. And if I ask a question, it's just a bit like that, really. Doesn't matter whether you answer, doesn't matter how you answer, I'm still going to do and say exactly what I was going to do and say at that point regardless. Is that okay? Oh, for fuck's sake. When I started doing comedy, I wanted to be a political comic that dealt with the issues of the day and got audiences all fired up so together we could change the world, but then I realised I can't really do that because deep down I know I'll be all right. Everything I do and say is through the prism of me being a middle-class, middle-aged white man that lives quite a long way above sea level. Like, I try getting wound up about stuff. I'll be watching the news go, oh my God, Trump though, I'll be all right. What about North Korea? What about North Korea? Right? It's a long way from the Cotswolds. What about the economy? What about the economy? I've got 2 ride-on mowers. Very difficult to care when you've got a choice of ride-on at any given moment. I'll give you an example. I watched a documentary about the Syrian refugee crisis, and for a while I was panicking and worrying about the greatest humanitarian disaster facing the planet, with 1.8 million people killed and 7 million people displaced from their homes, causing a global refugee crisis, which in itself is fueling the rise of the far right. But then I remembered that one of the mowers has got lights on. Middle East is a long way away when your second favourite mower is road legal. Had a look on Google Maps. I'm going to get back from here at about midnight. Do you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to mow them. The other one's an Atco Fieldmaster. You are right to be impressed. 110 centimetre cylinder, madam. I know some Premier League clubs might have a 140 centimetre cylinder, and I'm man enough to admit that's more mower than I need. And some have a 90, and I look down on them. I got it from a cricket club that was in financial difficulty, and they held a fundraising gig, and they booked me, and I was nowhere near good enough on the night, and they went bust, and I got their mower, so... All worked out in the end. I've got some political beliefs. I believe that there will be a second Scottish referendum on independence, and that if the Scots are actually serious about independence, then they'll let English people vote. If they'd let us vote last time, they'd be independent. Simple as that. We would absolutely have independence the shit out of them. What I really wanted to happen was for them to vote to stay with us, and then for us to tell them they couldn't. Just the next day, sorry lads, while you've been talking about it, we've been talking about it, and the thing is, we can make our own shortbread and bagpipes as shit. And it wouldn't be permanent, it would just be for a few days until, you know, we'd made our point, and then we'd let them come back, but with conditions. Yeah, you can come back, but that wall needs to get higher, and you're paying for it. And there's people our side that we don't need anymore, and you're having them. You're looking nervous, we don't need everybody. Right, we don't need men with white Range Rovers and orange wives. We don't need anybody that would look at a dog and think it needs a jumper. And we do not need Sunday cyclists. Oh. They don't even do it because they like it. They do it because they know you've got places to be and they want to be in your way whilst dressing as aging superheroes. It turns out I'm one of only about 9 British men in his 40s who hasn't seriously considered spending £5 grand on a fucking push bike. One of only 9 British men who doesn't wake up early on a Sunday and think, well, I've stolen swimwear from a 10-year-old boy. It's time for me to squeeze into that and get in the way. Do you know why they dress as superheroes? It's to give them a head start. So when they get divorced for spending £5 grand on a push bike, they're already in costume for Fathers for Justice. And that's pretty much the limit of my political beliefs, apart from I do have some detailed political beliefs concerning the relaxation of domestic planning consent for extensions to houses in North Gloucestershire. That's arguably because I live in North Gloucestershire and I would like to build an extension and they're being dicks about it. And I see some of you rolling your eyes going, oh my God, not another comic talking about the vagaries of the domestic planning consent system for the Cotswolds and Forest of Dean. But it's my truth and my life. So as the young comics say, strap in. 184 quid, sir, just to register the application. They keep that win, lose or draw. You look like a man who's arguing with the planning committee. 17 pages of forms. Can I do it online? Can I fuck? Got to be hard copy. Send it in, they send it back. Why? I did it in blue. So I send it in again with black biro, and then they write to me and they say, thank you very much, Mr. Page, we've received your plans. And then I hear nothing for 3 months, and they write to me again and say, thank you, we've received your plans. And then they come and have a look at the site, and then they photograph the site, and they measure the site, and then they write to me and tell me they've done that, even though I watched them do it. And then they put up notices on lampposts and telegraph poles near my house advising me that I'm going to be making an extension and advising other people they can register objections if they feel that it would adversely affect their enjoyment of their property. Now, I put it to you that if your life is ruined by my kitchen being a bit bigger, then probably your life was already a bit shit. But clearly, people have raised objections because they write and they say you need to make some amendments to your plans, and they give me a list of the amendments I need to make to my plans, and then I read you the plans with the amendments they told me to make, and then they said no. In the time that took, my next-door neighbours had a second child. Despite the fact that their first child adversely affects my enjoyment of my property. By being a horrible little free-range tow rag called Barnaby. Now, the problem with Barnaby is that Barnaby's parents have decided that Barnaby should set his own boundaries. The boundaries he's chosen are those of a 17th century pirate warlord. Barnaby is not a considerate neighbour. Barnaby thinks it's appropriate to pretend to be a helicopter/pirate at 6:15 on a Sunday morning while his dad's getting ready to go cycling like a cock. I was not consulted, ladies and gentlemen. No notices appeared on lampposts and telegraph poles near my house advising me that they were planning to extend their family. I just think it should be a level playing field. If I have to get permission to extend my house, they should get permission to extend their family. Does that make sense? Yeah. 184 quid to register. Can't afford that. Can't afford a kid. Yes? 17 pages of forms. Too stupid to fill them in. Too stupid to breed. Yes? Yes, and that's how the Nazis started. That is why I don't talk about politics on stage, because sometimes it turns out the audience is full of Nazis. I did set a timer before I started, but I think I've just about got time to tell you the real reason why I don't talk to audience members on stage. I was doing a gig near where I live, and sitting roughly in the front row, roughly where you're sitting, sir, was a posh old lady. Now, you might be a posh old lady, but she was probably posher, older, and more of a lady than you, in that she was called Lady Sophia. She was wearing 3 headscarves. She had a headscarf, then a hat, then a headscarf. Headscarf number 3 being used as a sling because her arm was in a bandage. I said, what happened to your arm? That was my first mistake. She said, you may or may not know that I own a prize-winning herd of Jersey cows. That's a weird answer. There is no comic in the history of comedy who's looked at his gig list and then thought, oh, I'd better check the livestock register. I don't want to look like a fool. She said, I own prize-winning Jersey cows, and when you have prize-winning Jersey cows, you want more prize-winning Jersey cows, but Jersey bulls are notoriously bad-tempered, and the vet charges a fortune for artificial insemination, so I went on a course and learnt how to do it myself. I was starting to feel trepidatious. She said, you may or may not know. I'm going to level with you. I didn't know, and now I do know, and I wish I didn't know, but I can't not know, so I'm telling you to dilute it. When you're artificially inseminating a cow, you stand behind the cow. That's quite obvious. You take a pot of bull sperm. They do about 3 pints in a go. Make sure it's at room temperature, but don't microwave it. Get your hand in there up to the wrist and then get a good scoop like a 10-year-old boy with his first go of hair gel. Insert your arm into the cow. This was the action she showed me. And then just pop past the mucus plug. And then you stimulate the cow's cervix with your thumb so that it puckers and draws up the bull sperm, maximising the chances of conception. I overstimulated one of the cows. She had an orgasm, her knees buckled, it dislocated my elbow and broke my scaphoid. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I avoid conversation with people in the audience. Because a lady who looked like Mary Berry told me a story in which she fisted a cow till it came. You have been wonderful. Thank you very much. Good night.
Mr. Nick Page. Mr. Nick Page, ladies and gentlemen. Please keep it going for our next brilliant act, Mr. Mark Simmons.
Hey, lovely welcome. Are you well? It's good to be here. I tell you what's happened? What was that? What did you say? Got heckled before I've even started. What happened? Ed Sheeran. Is this some sort of game where you say what you see? Because I can do that, knob. That wasn't how I was planning on starting. I'll tell you what, that doesn't put me off my day today. I've had a good day. Have you all had a good day? Yeah, I found some money in the street. Yeah, just next to some bloke singing. It's a good start to the day. I asked my girlfriend if she wants to go out for a meal tomorrow night. She said yes, which is great, because now I've got the flat to myself. You're still laughing about Ed Sheeran? Unbelievable. For stitching you up. Why, is she a nurse? Hey. I used to work in the cinema. This one day I was supposed to start work at 9, got there at 9:30. Boss was angry, came over. He said, "Mark, you're late. I want you to make the time up." I said, "Okay, it's 9. So that was easy. So on the ice cream counter, guy came up. He asked for 1 scoop and sauce. I said, "Rihanna's pregnant," and my mate Steve told me. See a couple of people explaining that one. Some of these are thinkers. No, I do. I have a lot of thinkers in my bit. So honestly, if anyone has any trouble with any of them, put your hand up. We'll go through it. I don't mind. I like to bring everyone along with me so we all have fun. I test you with this one. So I used to work in a garden centre. This guy asked me what water feature he should buy, and I was like, well... Good work. This is my favourite job I've had. We tell people you're a comedian, they say things like, stand-up comedy, that's the bravest job in the world, you've got to be so brave. And I was thinking about it, you don't have to be that brave to do this. I mean, I honestly think the bravest people are the men and women that work in the services. Do you agree? Yeah, because you do get a lot of weirdos stopping off on the motorway, don't you? The motorway's the worst part of this job. Hate the driving. Don't mind getting the train. The train's all right. Although I don't really like the people that work at the train station. They can be a bit annoying. Went there the other day, went up to the desk. I said to the man, "Can I have a cheap ticket to London, please?" He said, "It's peak time." I said, "OK. Can I have a cheap ticket to London, please?" So as you're nice, I've got some new jokes to try. So I'll try some new jokes? Yeah? I haven't come up with a funny bit yet, all right? What I've done is I've written the feed line, then a reminder at some point I've got to write the joke. So here's the first one. When I was younger, I liked breaking twigs off of trees. Stick joke here. So that's one I'm going to be working on at some point. So I went to Waterstones, asked a woman for a book about turtles. She said hardback, and I was like, yeah, little heads. I read the other day that during the war, the English referred to Adolf Hitler as Badger Man, although it might have said bad German. I think it was bad German. I hate mice, really hate mice. We've had a mouse in my flat for about a month now. Saw it the other day, shit myself. Got the first thing I could and just sprayed it with WD-40. Didn't get rid of it, but you can't hear it anymore. So I messaged my friend asking him what the safest way to pick up a heavy box was, and he texted straight back. That was the weirdest reaction to a joke. One woman got it really weirdly quick. And that woman's explaining it to you. Right. I like how she explained it, and he went, Think my best friend might be gay. Showed him my willy, and he said, leave it out. Sometimes I like to sleep in the fetal position, which isn't very comfortable for my mum. Is that too much? All right. I'll line it up a bit. The other day, my grandmother fell asleep in a restaurant. It's okay, because it was Nando's. She's actually going a bit crazy, my nan. She keeps telling everyone she's being stalked, but I don't think she is, and I've been following her. Let's do another new one. Library, might as well do another new one. My girlfriend talks too much. Insert gag. That's another one I'll be working on at some point. So my girlfriend had a boob job. Yeah, she used to sell bras. My brother had a hand job. He used to sell gloves. I had a blow job. It's nice. It's pretty good. The other day, my girlfriend said whenever we have sex, she wants me to record it. So I've started a spreadsheet. She moans at me sometimes when we have sex as well, moans at me. Like, we started doing it, and she was like, Mark, if you take off your socks. So I was like, okay. Boring. I'll tell you what, as you're nice, and it's, yeah, I don't always do this, but do you want to see a picture of her, my girlfriend? Yeah? Here she is. Okay. There she is. See that? Got some face paint on in there. So, see that at the back, okay? Yeah? No? There's another one with her mum. Yeah. So. That's another one. Out nightclubbing in this one. Yeah. So, see that, yeah? Cool. Oh, this one, she's with a little crocodile. Yeah. To be honest, she's not actually very supportive of my comedy. No, she says she didn't think I'd be able to come up with enough stuff to fill the time I got to do. And I thought, I'll show her. You're a lovely crowd. We don't always get to play to nice people. Sometimes you play to sort of stag and hen groups and they heckle loads and that ruins gigs. But sometimes I find heckles amusing, so I decided at the beginning of last year to write down every heckle that I got. I thought I'd just read them to you. So you see the sort of stuff that gets shouted at me? Here we go, from the top. You're shit. Bring back the last guy. Oi, Ed Sheeran. Ginger. He's not ginger, he's strawberry blonde. He's fucking ginger. So they're heckling each other. This next one's my favourite one. Why are you doing this to us? Shaggy. I think in Scooby-Doo, not rapper. Wasn't me. Get off. Tell us a joke. That was the first gig. Ed Sheeran's the one I get all the time. Honestly, I get it all the time. Like, even in the street. Yeah, like in the pub, wherever. Gets a bit annoying. And I was at home the other day reading a magazine article about him. There's a big picture of him. I started complaining about people saying I looked like him. My nan was there. She tried to make me feel better. She went, come on, Mark, I'm sure you don't look anything like him. Show me the picture. So I did, and she went, that guy's been following me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Mark Simmons, ladies and gentlemen. Mark, Ed Sheeran, Mark Simmons. We've got one more act. Please welcome into the stage. He's the man with the best shoes in comedy. Please welcome Mr. Tim Clark.
The best shoes, and I think you'll find the best hair. Petworth has a fringe, but I don't. I'm a great lover, though. My wife's never actually told me this, but the other night after we'd made love, and I was strutting naked round the bedroom, glass of Dom Perignon in one hand, cigar in the other. She looked at me through those beautiful eyes and said, "What a prick." And I looked down and went, "Yeah." Yes, I'm a married man, 4 kids. May the 1st last year, I became a granddad. How about that? I can tell you are as well, sir. Look at you. I love the shirt, by the way. It's the finest contraceptive I've ever seen. I'm a lover of TK Maxx myself. TK Maxx, great if you're a giant, a dwarf, or you don't give a fuck what you look like. Yes, I became a granddad. May the 1st last year. My daughter showed me the baby. She said, "Daddy looks just like you." All babies look like me. I love the kids, you know. 3 girls, 1 little boys. 20 now, my youngest. 20, sir. Yeah, I mean, I loved them when they were little. Too many questions, though. Questions. When my son was 9 or 10, he used to ask me so many questions. I was thinking of lending him to the police to help crack difficult suspects. "Where were you last night?" "I was in my house." "Is it a big house?" "Is it the biggest house in the world?" "How many windows are in your house?" "Is there more windows in your house than any house in the world?" "Can you get an elephant in your house?" "Can you get 2 elephants?" "Could you get the biggest elephant in the world in your house?" "Can you ride on the biggest elephant in the world?" "I don't know!" "Where were you last night?" "I don't know." "You said you were in your house. Book him." Embarrassing things as well. I remember once, years ago, the parents will recognise this. He came into the bedroom, very early hours of the morning, and he said to my wife, "Why were you doing that?" And quite frankly, I wanted to know, because I was in the kitchen making a cup of tea at the time. Yes, getting on a bit. I can tell you're the same generation. So this happens when you get past 45, 50. Happened to me. I can't remember anything. Every conversation I have now has become like a quiz. We went to that pub, what's it called? With that bloke, what's his name? Remembering faces is like the picture quiz round in a pub quiz. I know her. I saw her last Christmas. She's your mother. And I'll tell you the very worst. You know when you're on a website and they want your year of birth and there's that column of years? Yeah, you know. I have to go down and down. And I've already been down once to get United Kingdom. Which is just between Uzbekistan and the United Arab Emirates. And the other week I thought, I'll have a look. I'll see just how far down these years go. Look yourself, I couldn't believe it. 1903. Who the fuck is going to be on a website who's 115 years old? Especially when the website was Friends Reunited. They shouldn't be pushing a mouse around a table, they should be pushing a glass. Is there anybody there? Knock once for yes, twice for no. You see, I'm getting on in years, you know. Like, say we were doing this gig 20 years ago. There'd be smoke everywhere. Everyone smoked everywhere. You can't smoke anywhere now. You go to someone's house, say, "Mind if I smoke?" They'd go and get you an ashtray. Now that'd be like saying, "Do you mind if I shit on your television?" I'm not a regular television shitter. I just do it to be social. A friend of mine went to America, California. He said, "Where can I smoke?" They said, "Mexico." You can vape, I guess, if you're a dickhead. I'm just going out for a smoke and you pick up something like a bagpipe. I finally gave up and you can't be discreet vaping, can you? All that smoke, all that vape. What's Barry doing? Don't know. Think he's talking to the Apaches. I finally gave up by cutting down to just having a cigarette after sex. Soon got down to 1 a year. Yeah, the kids buy me lovely. Oh, actually, I'm not a great shopper. Last year, my wife, she came in one night. She said, "We've got to do something about the way you look." So she came in, and she took me to John Lewis, the makeup department of John Lewis. Don't those girls wear a lot of makeup? Do you think when they work in the makeup department, they say, "As you're coming to work at John Lewis, we think you should try out the makeup"? What, a little bit every day? No, all of it at the same time. It's what we call our grotesque clown in a nightmare look. And I went to the man's section. Listen, I went to the man's section. This is a man's section. I said, what can you do to make me look younger? He said, fuck knows, time travel. Surgery, prayer. This is John Lewis, not Hogwarts. But anyway, my eldest daughter, Christmas before last, she bought me a onesie. You familiar with a onesie? She bought me a onesie. I said, I'm not wearing that, but I do. Oh, I do. I sit and watch TV. And I don't go out. You know, I did once. She was coming back from college. She said, Dad, can you come and pick me up from the station? I said, no, I'm watching the football. I've got my onesie on. She said, oh, come, you won't have to get out of the car. So I thought, all right, I will. What can possibly go wrong? I'll tell you. I got stopped at a red light. Now, not a real red light. You know, the temporary ones they have at roadworks. Anyway, the light was red. This big queue of cars built up behind me, and the red light didn't change. You know when the red light doesn't change, it's like up to you to make the decision. Everyone behind me is getting really impatient, banging their horns. I thought, when did I become Prime Minister for traffic? It gets worse. It still doesn't change. I'm anxious, sweating. I can feel it in the mixed fibre of the onesie. And in the end, I cracked. Don't mind telling you, I cracked. I edged forward. I got stuck in the box junction, and suddenly, I am the dickhead of the junction. Everyone's shouting and screaming. This psychopath gets out his car and comes walking towards me. I'm just about to get out and confront him when I remember I've got my onesie on. Now, this is a game changer, because I go from possibly hard-looking bloke with a bald head to old codger in a baby grow. Luckily, all he did was call me a wanker, which I've never regarded as an insult, really. And the status quo was robbed. This is a funny thing as you get older, you see, because as we get older, we all think everybody else is changing, but we remain the same. I think that's why people in old folks' homes are always so startled. They're looking around thinking, what are all these old people doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're collecting crap, because I've got so much shit at home. I've got one of those messed up drawers in the kitchen full of crap. Dead batteries, dried up felt tips, ticket stubs, pre-Euro international currency. I've got enough coinage in there to bail out Greece. I found cassette tapes in there the other day. Cassette tapes, some that I could sell, Beatles, Rolling Stones, some that I couldn't, Gary Glitter, Rolf Harris. The Cliff Richard ones are on pending. And worst of all, this tangled mass of useless charger cables. Why do we keep these? Do I think one day I'm going to have cause to go into the shed and fire up the Amstrad? Because that's the next stop, by the way. The drawer is but a mere holding bay. Next stop, the shed, and it's only a short trip from the shed to the tip. I love the tip. Oh, I was there this afternoon. There's something so liberating about your stuff flying through a clear blue sky into one of those giant skips, but make sure you choose the right skip. They can get very arsey. The other week, I tried to put a plant into household waste. He said, that's not household waste, it's gardening waste. I said, it's not from my garden. It's from my conservatory. He went quiet as well. Yes, I've got a conservatory. I sit in there, cup of tea, good book, bit of crack. More powerful than cocaine, but terrible come down. 36 hours staring into the abyss. Anyway, the tip. And it's a fine line between what goes to the tip and what goes to the charity shop, because I'm a major patron of my local charity shop. In fact, when I buy something, I think not how it'll look on me, but how it'll look in Oxfam window in a year's time. The other week, I bought a shirt, took it home, realised it was one of mine. Should have spotted the dragon on the back, really. Yeah, lovely to be here, Petworth. I've never been before. I was here last week, and we work all over the place doing this job. You know, not that long ago, I worked in Tokyo. How good was that? We flew as well, if you get a chance, Virgin Atlantic, marvellous. We're coming back on the Virgin plane. The captain came on. He said, I'd like to introduce you to the cabin crew led by the lovely Leslie. And Leslie came along, red top, red skirt, bit too much makeup, but a lovely fella. And we stayed in this brilliant hotel that went up about 35 floors. And as you know, they're all in lifts. and I was in the lift, and as you know, the rule in lifts all over the world, where no matter where you are, just one rule: no conversation. And if there is any conversation, it should be strictly lift-related. Maybe what floor? Never go into a lift where there's only one other person and say, "So, alone at last." Anyway, I'm in this lift, and this big fella gets in, about 6'2". He's got a little name badge, glasses. He said to me, "How you doing, mate? My name's Phil. You here for the conference?" He's Australian. Didn't give a damn about lift etiquette. I was rather taken aback, so I thought I'd better engage him in conversation. So I said, "No, Phil, I'm not here for the conference. What part of Australia are you from?" He wasn't from Australia, he was from New Zealand. I know. They hate that. He went on and on, how the countries are 1,000 miles apart, and they had a different history and a different culture and a slightly different nuance to the language. But what he didn't know was I couldn't give a fuck. Thank you. You've been a great audience. We've had a great time here tonight. Thank you so much. And if you, as I said last week, if you do want to follow me, I'm going over there. But thank you very much, and bye-bye. Thank you.
Mr. Tim Clark. Mr. Tim Clark, fantastic. Is this one still on? So that is it. The judges are going to venture off and deliberate. I think that's probably one of the hardest. You can go if you want. That's right. One of the hardest decisions they'll ever have to make. He's changed out of his Love Island outfit. We took the piss out of him too much. It's the one with a dragon on the back or something. That's even more embarrassing, isn't it? You got a voucher for T-Max? I know I can take the piss. So, right, so I've got a little prize for you lot as well, because I think you deserve it. It's been very hot. Do you know what this is? Any guesses? It's a fork. No, but it's not any sort of fork. It's a back scratcher, stroke, extendable fork, stroke, heckler, stabber. So you can nick people's food. So we're going to have a little ask round. The best sort of answer to what would you do with £10,000 prize will get the fork, all right? So you've got a lot to say for yourself, sir. You look a bit like Keith Chegwin, actually. No, I know, I didn't mean it to be, but it was like, is that why you keep the lights off? Does she call you Keith? Is that? So what would you do with 10 grand, £10,001 if you could? That's just a suck-up answer, isn't it? That is a suck. This guy here, he said to me, "Have you really got a 5-week-old baby?" Because comedians make up, like, I do actually have a 5-week-old baby. All right, he's 12 weeks old, but it's funnier if it's 5 weeks. It is funny. It is funnier. Right, do you approve? His middle name is Elvis. But any Elvis fans? Right, so the reason his middle name is Elvis is not just because I'm a big Elvis fan, but also because he was actually conceived whilst listening to Elvis's first album. When I say album, side A. Track 1. Songs were a lot shorter in the 50s, weren't they, sir? And he's a whingy little git. His name is Freddie Elvis. And the only thing that stops him crying is if I play him the Elvis song, Return to Sender. And me and Mrs. have got one of our favourite Elvis songs which sums up how we feel about being parents. We're caught in a trap. I can't wait, that's it. So you basically shove the money back in the Petfringe. Who's got any other answers? What would you do, sir, here with 10 grand? What would you do? Keep it. Obviously, I mean, you're going to keep. What would you spend it? You wouldn't spend it. Is he a bit tight, is he? Very tight. I can tell, as someone pointed out earlier with the outfit. Was it you, sir, they were taking the mickey out? I was actually told, please do not take the mickey out of any of the crowd. And that's why I haven't said much tonight, because that's all I do, really, quite frankly. So anyone at the back, bloke at top left with the glasses, specky fella like me, what would you do with 10 grand? This is going really well, isn't it? Yeah, what would you do? Buy some aircon. Yes, please. You look a bit like Marcus Trescothick, you know, the cricketer? Yeah, fair enough. Probably a 3 out of 10, probably a 4. So it's similar. No, I'm just kidding. No. Anyone else? Outgoing people? 10,000, they're actually £3. Come on, I'm actually spent £3 of my own money from that donation bit downstairs to pay for this. Who else put their hand up? Yeah? 10,000 or 10,001? Oh, 10,001. Was that your answer? No, it's important. Okay, 10,000, as I said, they're £3 each, so it doesn't really matter. That's a moot point. So I could buy my wife a nice birthday present? You could buy your wife a nice birthday present? Hey, comedian. Do you want to come up and do this shit? Anyway, we need some. Anyone in this section over here? Is this the posh section over here? You don't, the king? Yeah. Anyone, lady in the green here? What would you spend 10 grand on? Who are you? You like her? And what would you spend? You wouldn't spend it on her, though, would you? No, you wouldn't. You would not share it at all. That's an absolute lie, isn't it? That is a lie. So, I don't want to... You're still 5 grand up, to be honest. They're taking a bloody long time. Are we allowed to ask who your favourites were? Is that bad form to ask you? Who like Ed Sheeran? Who was the one who heckled Ed Sheeran? Well, that's probably where they come from. You know, where do you think they sort of vapor coming like from a tightrope from the ceiling? But I think it probably helped his set a bit because it does a few jokes about Ed. Have you got Ed, yeah, and you got Keith Chegrin. Any other lookalikes in the audience? None at all. Right. So how long have we got? Anyone? Are the judges? Are you back yet? Where are you? I think they've died. They just cut out. They're down. Is it the Star that's next door? Yeah, honestly, guys. There you go.
I've no idea who Mr. Markle is, but well done. Yeah, now it's got really awkward, hasn't it? It's just like I'm fucking showboating. I like this buffet fork, though. Well, you're always just too far away from the big prawns, aren't you? Yeah, again, that's it for audience participation. Hi. You are properly posh people here as well. I come from a little village in Gloucestershire where there is my house and 8 other houses, and we get one bus a week that comes at 11:45 on a Thursday, give or take a day, and it picks up one old lady called Grace, and it drives her 8 miles to the next village, and then it waits for 40 minutes so she can do her shopping. Yeah, but she doesn't do her shopping there because there hasn't been a shop in that village since 1988. So she gets on the bus and it drives her there, and then it waits for 40 minutes, so she sits on it because there's nothing else to do, and then it drives her back to our village, and then she gets off the bus and into her car and fucks off into town. And the reason she catches the bus is because if she stopped catching the bus, they'd stop sending it, and the reason they send it is because there's still demand. Yeah. I never even wanted to do this. I wanted to be a farmer, but when I was at school, I went to see the careers advisor, and I said I'd like to be a farmer, and they said, have you got a farm? And I said no, and that was the end of that. I'd like to be a farmer, firstly, because they're the most optimistic people on earth. They looked at the referendum and they went, well, we get 78% of our money from one place and we employ all our people from one place, so we'll vote to leave that place and it'll all work out fine. But mostly I'm jealous because they get to make their own road signs. And wherever else you've done this week, how much better would it be if you could just paint the word cider on an old door and put it in a field near a dual carriageway with no other information? Just to mess with people as they're driving along and they see it and they go, oh, cider. Can I buy it? Sign doesn't say. Where is it? There's no other information apart from occasionally just an arrow that points into another field. How much does it cost, and does that represent good value in today's cider marketplace? There's no other information. And while you're coming to terms with the existential longing for cider, there's a lay-by, and in the lay-by there's a lorry with a wheel missing, and painted along the side of the lorry, potatoes. But they've started slightly too far along, and the letters are slightly too big, so even though they've bunched them up towards the end, all they've got on the side is patat. And then O's is on the back door, swinging in the breeze. Potatoes. Potato. My favourite farmer sign is the sign that farmers make when they've got mud on the road, and then rather than clearing the mud off the road, they drive back to their yard, obviously getting more mud on more of the road, and then they make a sign that says mud on road. And then they bring it back and put it near some of the mud on a bit of the road, thus helping nobody. Yeah, good. I've showboated enough. And I'll hand you back to Andy. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a result. We have a result. Thank you for sticking out. It's boiling, and you've been absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to announce that in reverse order, 3, 2, 1. Only the first prize gets the prize. There's no other prizes. So a bit harsh, but fair, I think. Okay, so in third place, In third place, are all the acts here, so you can come up onto the stage. In third place, please welcome Alistair Williams. Fantastic. It was on right near the start. It was absolutely brilliant. I'm going. He's going. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, the judges said it was like the hardest thing they've ever had to do almost. This is so close, and they've been absolutely brilliant. Please welcome to the stage our second place person, Mr. Nick Page. Or not to the stage. He's going to sign the cheque now. I was going to write who it's to. One of the ideas of this competition, it's going to really help someone in their comedy career. And going to welcome them to the stage now, the grand prize winner of the Petfringe Comedian of the Year 2018, Simon Lomas.
Thanks very much, everyone. This has been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Cheers.
What are you going to spend it on? Give me a fork. Just want to say thank you again to all the organisers, Pete here and Andrew and Arthur. They've been absolutely fantastic, and we're going to do this next year. The next 2 years are guaranteed of this, so please keep supporting it. Thank you very much for coming. Good night. Thank you.